Wasting money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. But time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Afternoon, everyone. It's Jim and Graham here for another 25 to 30 minutes or so of, I was going to use the word a fun revision session, Graham, but I suppose that's quite a loose description of what we're going to do for the next
A loose
25
term.
minutes.
I use that word loosely.
I know, just looking at the live chat, lots of people are, quote, hyped for this session. We don't want to peak too early, though, do we? Just the idea of these sessions is to dive into different parts of the Edexcel specification, do some basic revision of key concepts, few calculations, and then as we get closer to the exams, obviously we'll ramp up the complexity. But you can't do too much basic stuff, can you, mate?
You can't do it. You've got to cover the Billy basics. It is the foundation of all good answers.
Certainly is. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Over 150 people taking some time out from their lunchtime to join us live. We appreciate that. We never take that for granted. Just a quick reminder that in 3 weeks' time, we will be, actually 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks today, we'll be in Stratford, won't we, for Edexcel A-Level Business Grade Booster. It'll be at the lunchtime break, 1 o'clock. And so we're coming to Stratford on the 30th of April, I think it is, for Edexcel, Wednesday the 30th. And then a couple of days later, after we've taken the tube across from east to west, we are at Westfield White City, the final day, May the 2nd, of our Grey Booster Tour. So if you are joining us for that, or if you get the chance to come and join us live, it would be great for you to say hello. Always enjoy those, G.
We will be locked in, Jim.
That's the phrase, isn't it? So that we don't get cooked. That's another
Locked
phrase.
in. Yeah, we don't want to be cooked. We want to be locked
Yeah.
in. So
should we do the big reveal whilst more
Yes.
people are joining us live?
yes, so this is the name of a business. There are 5 clues which allude to that business. After you see a clue, so founded in 2006. Some of you are sat there thinking, I know a business that was founded even in 2005. It can't be this business.
Can't be, can it?
This was founded in 2006. So it's quite a new business, really, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Clue number 2. 15.67 billion euros of revenue in 2024. That's a huge business, isn't it? That's a huge business.
Is euros a clue there?
It's not us, is it? It's not us.
Normally you say pounds, don't you? It's not us.
It's not, because we got 15.66 billion in 2024, didn't we? So that's why. But we were founded in 2005, so it can't be us. It's not HMV. HMV was yesterday, as I alluded to. Clue number 3.
They'd die for that kind of revenue, wouldn't they? It's amazing.
Available in 184 countries. The word available is a very a very important term there, isn't it?
As opposed to unavailable.
Well, it doesn't mean it's a shop, does it? It doesn't say it has locations or stores.
Good point. And in fact, that has triggered a correct answer. There's lots of people putting answers in the live chat, but there was a lot of thought
when I put in this. There was a lot of thought. Clue number 4.
Yeah.
Headquarters in Sweden. And clue number 5.
Yeah. The AI has spotted who was the first with the correct answer in the live chat. I'll stick it on the screen.
And it's related to paper 3, isn't it? Spotify.
Yeah, indeed.
Do you have Spotify, Jim? Do you have Spotify, or do you have Apple Music?
Apple Music. I've never used Spotify, ever.
I've never used any of them because I still buy records. So I do not use streaming services. So, no, not IKEA, but good guess, though. Actually, Sweden, IKEA could be, couldn't it?
Could have been, but it wasn't. Okay, good stuff. So we'll do a few. I'll start with this one. We'll do a few MCQs. Obviously, there's no MCQs in Edexcel, but it's a good way of doing what we're trying to do today, which is basic revision of core concepts. You've got to know your stuff. That's the foundation for success. So here's our first one. To help you out on this one, the answer is either A or B or C or D. One of those.
I think you've revealed the answer, Jim.
Have I? Sorry about that.
So I did HMV yesterday. It's good you're helping me out with
I'd like to say it's somebody else on production, but it's not. It's me. One of those is not a current asset. Which one is it?
Yeah. Someone still got the wrong answer, though. Someone put E, which is... We've got a comedian in the chat. So I'm just pleased it wasn't me who made a mistake yesterday. That's why rubbers are on the end of pencils.
Why was it a mistake? Could it have been a trick? Because actually the answer is A, it is payables. So payables, the thing that students often get confused with in Edexcel, as well as most other exam boards, is payables and receivables, isn't it? So payables, the way to remember this, payables is money the business needs to pay out.
Exactly.
Typically to its suppliers. So, for example, a supplier gives the business 30 days credit. It means you need to pay them once the 30 days are up. Receivables is money a business expects to receive, and it's from customers who are given credit. So payables would be a current liability, and receivables a current asset.
And that's important in case you get a question like on the current ratio, you have to calculate it and you have to identify which current assets and which are current liabilities.
I'm going to try not to reveal the correct answer on this one, G, until you've been through the question.
Oh, this is a difficult one, this. Which of the following would not be found on a statement of comprehensive income, profit and loss account? Would it be cost of sales, revenue, interest, or retained profit? Which of those would not be found on a statement of comprehensive income?
SOCI, isn't it? SOCI.
Yeah.
As compared with statement of financial position, or SOFT, which is the balance sheet.
The majority are going for A and C.
Yeah.
Dan Pickford's confident because he's put the same letter in 3 times. It's either A or B or D. So the majority are going for C. I think the majority are going for C. A few going for D. Some going for A.
I'm glad we did this question then.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, retained profits on the statement of comprehensive income, but not retained profit.
Yep.
Cost of sales is on the statement of comprehensive income, as is revenue and interest, but not retained profit. That is on the statement of, the financial statement is the balance sheet.
Retained profit is part of reserves, isn't it? It's part of the total equity.
Total equity.
It's the way to remember that is it's the bottom part of the balance sheet. It's the profits that you keep in the business, and alongside share capital and non-current liabilities, that's how the business is financed.
Statement of financial position, balance sheet.
Indeed. Okay, question 3. We've got a formula now. Got to know your formulae. Obviously, you don't get given them. And this is perhaps the most important formula in business. It's certainly one of the most widely used. What's the formula to calculate contribution per unit? So we're thinking break-even analysis here. Is it A, B, C, or D? There's four different formula there that are all conceivable, but only one of them is the formula for contribution per unit. A
It's
crucial.
such an important formula.
I think it's the most important formula, along with the formula that it works alongside, which we'll mention as well briefly. But good news is Alex, Divine, Izzy, and lots of others, Claudia and Drew and Emma, all going for the correct answer. PickyDoc reckons everyone's copying PickyDoc. I'm not sure that's happening, PickyDoc. We'll see, won't we? But it is indeed B. And Vascorp has added some value to the answer by saying that the contribution per unit contributes. Karis, you only need to add in your answer once, by the way. The contribution per unit contributes towards fixed costs. So contribution per unit is selling price less the variable cost per unit. That tells us how much is contributed each time we sell or make a unit. And obviously our break-even output is fixed costs divided by contribution per unit. It tells us how many units we need to sell to break even. So
once those fixed costs are covered, it contributes towards profit.
Now this is a hard one.
Yeah, so an increase in fixed costs will lead to an increase in the margin of safety, assuming all other variables remain unchanged. Sale of assets is an internal source of finance. Are those statements true?
Yeah.
Or are those false? These only are easy when you know the answer, aren't they? And as we've seen in the past few years, reading examiners' reports, knowledge and understanding can be a weak area for a lot of students. You've got to know your stuff. An increase in fixed costs will lead to an increase in the margin of safety.
Yeah. I was watching a TikTok video the other night, G, when as a student bemoaning the fact that there are so many, quite understandably, so many different formulae to understand in A-level business. And one of them was the margin of safety, saying, why do we need to know that? Actually, it's quite an important. It's quite an important ratio, or quite an important calculation. But they are complicated, and you do have to practice them.
Harry Miles
Harry says he's either saying I'm thinking of you, Graham, or I'm thinking C, Graham.
Well, a lot of people do think of me, and a lot of think of C as well, don't they? So what is margin of safety? Well, that's an interesting question. So margin of safety is we'll do it after the answer.
Okay. Should we have a look at the answer?
Yes, reveal the answer.
Yeah.
Yes. So statement 2 is true. Statement 1 is false. So an increase in fixed costs will increase the break-even point and therefore reduce the margin of safety. And that's a real logical chain of reasoning, isn't it? So increasing fixed costs will increase the break-even point and reduce the margin of safety, because margin of safety is the difference, but there we go, between actual output and break-even output.
It's a really important. I know it is annoying having to know so many of these different formula, but it's absolutely vital. And the other one, the secret one that no one gets taught, is that profit is margin of safety times contribution per unit.
And that's because, Jim, all fixed costs have been covered.
Exactly.
And that's why profit is total contribution minus fixed costs. Another way of working profit out. We've got all covered here, haven't we?
I'm glad we did that, because it's margin of safety is one of those concepts. If it comes up and you understand it, it really is relatively straightforward to use, but it's a tricky concept.
Interestingly, if you don't mind me saying this, there was an AS paper which one of us may have examined, one of which may have not examined, where students had to calculate the margin of safety, and they had to work break even out first, and break even came out as a decimal. Remember, you have to round up, because you can't break even a decimal. So students who didn't round up break even didn't get the correct answer for margin of safety.
Yep. Amrit's just put in the last shot, so thank you for that. Absolutely spot on. Profit is the margin of safety in units times the contribution per unit. That is what profit is.
Exactly.
A quick way. Awesome stuff. So don't worry if this is unfamiliar to you or a little bit uncertain. That's why we do these sessions. Yeah. And I'm sure we will be coming back to break-even analysis time and time again. Here's our last one. Or shall I do this one, G? Zero-based budgeting. Is that where budgets are based on past financial figures? And so true or false? And then the next statement, does a favourable cost variance happen when budgeted fixed costs are lower than actual fixed costs? What do we think? Is that a favourable cost variance? True or false to each of those statements, and then pick the combination?
Has been examined before, methods of budgeting. So it has come up before.
Is his keyboard stuck? Might be the right answer, but we only need it once, folks. There's just short of 200 people live at the minute, which is why it's best just to submit your answer once. We've got a difference of opinion here, haven't we? We've got some C's, quite a few C's, and a few D's. I would say most people probably going for D. So let's have a look, shall we? It is D. So let's just go through why that is. Zero-based budgeting. Well, that's where you start with no past information. You start afresh. You literally start with a blank piece of paper, or more likely a blank spreadsheet, and you start making assumptions and forecasts about what your costs and revenues are going to be. You ignore what's happened in the past. So basing budgets on past financial figures, that's known as historical budgeting.
Exactly.
Statement 2, well, don't forget, a favourable variance is good news. So a favourable cost variance would be if actual costs are lower than budget, wouldn't it? That would be good news. We're told it's the other way around. Actual costs are higher, or budget are lower than actual. So that'll be an adverse cost variance. So indeed, yeah, both those two are false. So well done on those.
Can I just pick up on Freya's point there? Does break even have to be a whole number? Yes, you need to round up, because you can't break even at a decimal or a fraction. You only break even when the next whole unit is sold. So you would round up.
Do I need to put that on the screen, or are we've dealt with that one?
Yeah, I think we dealt with that one.
Okay. So we move on. It's calculator time. If you've got a smartphone handy, or even better, a calculator, or if you want to do it in your head. Do you want to do this one, G? The asset test ratio.
Okay, one of the two liquidity ratios, current ratio and the asset test ratio. So the current assets of a business are £300,000, of which 20% is inventory. The current liabilities of the business are £200,000. The question is, can you calculate the asset test ratio of the business? So, Jim, start the music, please.
We've got a minute, haven't we?
We've got a minute. Remember, good exam technique, always show your formula. If you don't know the formula, write definition. Then show your process each stage and you're working out. That way, even if you get the final answer wrong, you could still get some marks.
So am I right in thinking all calculations in Edexcel, if it was a calculation, will be a 4-marker?
1 mark for knowledge, 3 marks for application.
Okay.
If you get a construct question, like construct a supply and demand diagram, there'll be 1 mark for knowledge, 2 application, 1 analysis, because you'll always have to show a shift in the curve. But all calculations, 4 marks.
I'm going to stick, Amrit's very helpfully stuck the formula on here, so let's stick that on the screen as well. Just to remind people, and I'll take it off so you can look at the numbers again.
Now, the amount of students who haven't put to 1, remember, it's always to 1. That's what we need.
I can see Daniel, Sam, and Tyrrell have not expressed it as to 1. What's the implications of that potentially for marks?
Listen. Chance leaves nothing to us, Jim. We leave nothing to chance. Always express it to 1. I would always express it to 1.
Should we have a look at the answer?
Yes. 1.2 to 1. So, current assets minus inventory is 240,000. So you could have done 300,000 times 0.8, or you could have found out the inventory and then just deducted it. The top way was slightly quicker, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the right answer. The asset test ratio is current assets minus inventory divided by current liabilities, 1.2 to 1. Now, interestingly, there's not many things guaranteed in life, but one of them is in paper 3, Jim. You're going to get a 12 or 20 mark question that involves calculations. And last year's exam, would you believe, students had to assess whether the liquidity of a business had improved. And that required students to work out the current ratio and the asset test ratio and use the results of their calculations in their answer. Lots of students didn't show the calculations, didn't work them out. The students who did do the calculations, a lot failed to use them in their answers. So always make sure, if you get asked to perform a calculation in a question, use the results in your answer. Yeah, the asset test ratio would always be to 1. Because that tells us for every £1 of current liabilities, the business has £1.20 of current assets minus inventory. That's what it's telling us.
Yeah.
So that's the way you should do it, really.
Yep, excellent work. We might do another calculation in a bit. Oh, maybe not. I think we've probably had enough calculations, haven't we? Should we do a definition spinner?
I think so.
So what we're going to do here is we've picked a bunch of topics. Although income assisted demand is on there, but it's closely linked to percentage change, that kind of stuff. But finance topics, they're purely random spinner. is going to alight. Is that the word? Alight on one of those segments. And I thought it was going to alight on historical budget. It didn't. So crowdfunding. So you need to know your stuff. What is crowdfunding? Can you tell us something in a live chat about what crowdfunding is? If you were trying to show knowledge and understanding to the examiner, using a definition if you decided to.
Been examined before.
Right. Yeah,
Been examined before.
It's an examiner favourite.
So, yeah.
And I'll stick a few on the screen. I mean, not necessarily saying they're right or wrong, but just to show lots of work being going on here in the.
Yeah.
So let's put Tabitha's on there.
Yeah,
let's
it's
just pick 2 or
interesting.
3 just to go through them.
A lot of students saying it's inviting friends and family to contribute to the business, and they certainly could, but that's not really showing 100% accurate and thorough knowledge and understanding, really, because
So it's external finance, and it's people donating, and it's donating or investing to help fund the business for many people. So I think Harry's actually here is as close as it gets to what I was thinking, a way of raising finance from a large number of people. Often they're investing or donating or spending relatively small amounts, but the point is it's a large number, a crowd. Typically via the internet, just about every crowdfunding platform, they are all online. And it's not just a business, it can be to fund a project, a new product, a cause, which I think that's a terrific definition, isn't it?
Well, interestingly, there's a local band in Sunderland, where I hail from, who are trying to crowdfund the money to release an album. So, a link to Paper 3 there.
There we go. It's where a business raises finance for many people, a crowd, usually a small amount, that's true. It's rare that it's asking people for. That's the whole point of crowdfunding, isn't it? To try and encourage lots of people to spend or invest. Sometimes it is for shares, but actually most crowdfunding isn't for shares in the business. Most crowdfunding is, as Graham suggests, to help launch a product, a new service, perhaps to get first use of a new innovative product, or even to get some special pricing. So crowdfunding isn't all about selling shares. Sometimes
I think a really important point there is if you get a question on assess the value of crowdfunding. Remember, when you write your judgments, you've got to be bringing in something new. And another benefit of crowdfunding is it can raise awareness of the brand. So over and above raising finance, you can get buy-in. I remember, was it Brewdog? Did they crowdfund?
Yeah, they did.
Crowdfund, didn't they? Yeah, and so people who paid into that maybe use their pubs and everything. So it can actually be a valuable marketing tool as well.
Yeah, there we go. Let's do another one, shall we? There is a calculation. There was me thinking that there isn't going to be another calculation, but there is. So over to you, G.
Yes.
Bit of variance analysis here.
Yes, variance analysis. So what we'd like you to do is, you can see on screen the budget and actual income and expenditure of a business this year. So you're going to get a variance analysis question. So you need to know the formula for that. And the question is, can you calculate the profit variance of the business this year? So again, always write the formula down. If this isn't an exam, be worth 4 marks. Write the formula down. If you don't know the formula, make sure you write at least a definition. So have a go at that. So some questions around what's PED, what's market share. PED, price elasticity of demand. It's how sensitive a product or service is to a change in price. That's what PED is.
Yeah, we'll probably deal with that kind of stuff in our marketing sessions as well as later sessions.
Now it didn't ask for it on here because some of the Edexcel questions don't often ask for this, but it's always good practice to state whether it's adverse or favourable. So sometimes the Edexcel questions don't ask for that, but I would always just, as a matter of course, write down whether it's adverse or favourable.
What do we think? Lots of answers coming in. Lots of people. Most people are giving the adverse favourable things as well. Here's the answer.
20,000 favourable. That's because the actual profit is higher than budget. So basically, we've got the actual profit there, which was 190,000 minus 110,000. The budgeted profit 150,000 minus 90,000. The profit variance is there £20,000 favourable, as the actual is higher than budget. Favourable means better than expected. So if costs are lower than budget and profit or revenue is higher, that's favourable. So Jim always talks about good news. If it's favourable, it's good news for the business. If costs are lower, that's good news to a certain extent. And if sales and profits higher, that is good news to a large extent.
Yeah, that's the way to do it with budgets. Good stuff. We're back to our definition spinner, a different one. We've done crowdfunding. Should we spin it again, G?
Yes, let's see what lands on. Oh, wow. Never been examined.
Okay, well, it's been examined now. Not peer-to-peer funding. I've come across that. It's on the specification.
It is. So what is peer-to-peer funding? You know, it's one of those that just goes under the radar. And often when you know, it's ever been examined, but you can just see it being an area that students may struggle with. What the hell is peer-to-peer funding? Well,
a number of people asking that. It's on the specification. So I'm glad we've covered it.
We're going to find out, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's funding.
Amazing answer from Sayani. It is actually a form of crowdfunding in a sense that it's direct funding between two institutions that aren't traditional institutions like banks. So absolutely spot on. So it allows businesses to raise capital for individual institutions bypassing traditional methods. It's usually an online platform. Number of online platforms that do peer-to-peer funding.
I like Sophie's answer, if we can find it.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Sophie Johnson.
Yeah, I've got it.
It's via online lending company. That's how it normally works.
Exactly that.
Via a specific platform. Well done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the one that keeps contacting us. So basically, lots of individuals lend money to this platform. It's peer-to-peer funding. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Is it peer-to-peer funding or us?
It's not, but it's something similar. And they then lend out that money that individuals have lent direct to businesses at whatever interest rate and terms they decide. But basically, it's a way of connecting. Peer-to-peer funding is connecting people who want to invest in businesses and lend to businesses with businesses who want to raise money. Now, traditionally, you go to a bank to do that, but these days, peer-to-peer platforms are, in many cases, a better alternative. Yeah. And I think the main advantage of peer-to-peer is you get a decision quicker.
Yeah.
So you find out, rather than spending months trying to persuade the bank to give you a bank loan, peer-to-peer, if you get a question asking maybe to assess the benefits of peer-to-peer funding, the speed of getting finance can be a big factor. And let's just have a look, see what we went with. We said it's raising finance directly from other individuals without going through a bank. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? And peer-to-peer funding platforms connect people who want to lend with people who want to borrow. And very effective they are too.
Great stuff.
I'm pleased about that. I'm glad we did that one, because that was, if it came up and students weren't aware of it, now they are, which is good.
Just one question there. Could this come up on paper 3? I will be driven by the bullet points, but remember, paper 3 is synoptic, so it draws information and topics from all 4 themes. Yeah. So potentially. So,
question coming: is peer-to-peer, does it need to be repaid? Yes, it does. It's just like any other loan, except you're loaning it from the platform. Yeah. It's like a traditional loan. Will have interest and repayment associated with it, and perhaps security. Sam's asking, what are the disadvantages of peer-to-peer funding? Like any other form of loan, if you don't meet their criteria for who they're prepared to lend to, you won't get a loan. And depending on how risky you are perceived to be, you might end up paying quite a high interest rate.
You might also get all the money as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yes, there is interest. So it's just like a loan, except it's not from a bank. But lots of people asking some great questions about peer-to-peer funding. Really good. We've got a mini case study, G.
Oh, honestly, doesn't get much better than this, does it? Cod Loves a Fryer is a chain of fish and chip shops located in and around Sunderland. As well as fish and chips, they also sell kebabs, pizzas, and soft drinks.
Do I get the impression you go there?
I often get a kebab and a can of pop, a vegan kebab.
Of course.
Shall we have a look at the question?
Yep.
So we want a way that Cod Loves a Fryer could reduce its break-even point. Now, there's only 3 ways really a business can reduce its break-even point. But what we want here is application.
Yep.
So we want language of the industry or business, a bit such as seasoning. If you've been in our workshops, you'll know what that is. So can we just have a think about that, but get some application in there? Try and go beyond the textbook answer. So give me a way that cod loves a fryer could reduce its break-even point. So we'll know the knowledge, we'll know the 3 methods that a business can reduce its break-even point, but we want to know what could this business specifically do and get our. So I think is it
Natalia has come in
Natalia.
with one of the first answers. Yeah.
Yeah, increase its prices of their food items on the menu. So we would need to develop that. For example, that would increase contribution per unit.
Yep.
Meaning they sell, less food to cover their fixed costs, such as the rent on their fish and chip shop. Application.
Yep. So let's have a look. Freya's gone with one, using a bit of geography as well as cracking business. A reduction of fixed costs, such as downsizing to a smaller or cheaper fish and chip shop in Sunderland. Would there be such a thing as a smaller or cheaper fish and chip shop? But it's good application, isn't it? Change the location in order to get a lower rent, perhaps, therefore lowering your fixed costs. That would indeed.
There's a lot of students saying sell more products, which that would impact the margin of safety, but not break even.
Laura's idea there would impact contribution per unit, wouldn't it? Source a cheaper supply of fish. That would reduce the variable cost of fish.
Yeah.
Or per serving, perhaps, thereby increasing contribution per unit. Although you might have to, hopefully you wouldn't tell your customers that you've sourced a really cheap supplier of fish. They might be able to taste it, don't they?
Well, maybe they could buy in bulk, buyer power, increase buyer power, put pressure on their suppliers to sell them fish at a lower price, or maybe they'll go elsewhere. So that's great. That's a great answer.
Some great answers coming here. Lots of people typing away furiously.
Stop paying rent. Yeah, I mean that's a possibility, but I don't think it'd be in business. I think that's quite a fishy answer.
Sophie's on just before we have a look at yours? I think Sophie's is a cracking answer. They could reduce their variable costs by finding cheaper suppliers of battered fish or pizza dough. That is application, isn't it? I mean, it's application gold.
Do you know what, Jim? I think we might have to call 999 because Sophie is on fire. I mean, that is a phenomenal answer. That is
the contribution per unit, thereby decreasing their break-even point. I mean, it's got everything else.
Answer. Application.
That is the answer of the day so far.
So a lot of students have gone for either increasing contribution per unit by increasing selling prices, or reducing contribution. But there's another method, and that is looking at fixed costs, which is the top of the formula. So let's have a look what we had. So I don't think it'll be better than what's being shown on screen. They could increase the price of their food. Application, such as seasoning, the price of their fish and chips. This would result in an increase in contribution per unit, meaning they need to sell fewer fish and chips to cover their fixed costs, such as the rent on each shop. The shop's application, isn't it?
It is.
They could look to reduce their variable costs, such as sourcing cheaper ingredients, cheaper fish, potatoes and kebab meat. If they keep the price of their food the same but lower the variable costs per unit, this will again increase contribution per unit. They could also look to maybe, someone did mention it, didn't they? Maybe looking at a cheaper place in Sunderland, perhaps. Yeah, could reduce the fixed costs. So, also there's lots of other fixed costs in a business, isn't there? There's lots of other ways to reduce fixed costs in a business.
Yeah, there are. I quite like Billen's answer here, which is quite interesting. Interesting take to use just-in-time operations or production. So rather than just in case, where you might have large stocks of fish and batter and salt. So if you move to just in time, they would only source it and buy it just when they source it. Excuse the pun, but they'd only use it when they need it. So I suppose the issue there is you'd have to have sort of hourly or daily deliveries of ingredients, wouldn't you? But in theory, if you can find ways of lowering waste, that will also reduce the variable cost per meal or serving, therefore increase contribution per unit. So I like that answer.
I can't remember where I was, but I saw an amazing name for Lord of the Fries.
Yes.
Which was a great name for a fish and chip shop, which I thought was great. So amazing answers there. You know what was really pleasing as well? Lots talking about contribution per unit.
Yep.
Or linking the theory with the application and developing analysis. Great
I think the thing about contribution per unit is it provides a route to analysis, isn't it? Because it enables you to explain how and why a change in one or both of selling price per cost and variable cost per unit helps impact break-even output. So
you can't just say increasing the price will lead to a reduction in break-even point. That's not analysis, that's knowledge. You have to explain how and why that leads to that. And then maybe even link that to margin of safety. So remember, always when you make a point, try and explain how and why
Yep.
that works.
I think we're done, aren't we?
30 minutes, bob on.
Half an hour. There we go. Fantastic. So we are back tomorrow, I think.
Oh,
we are.
I've suddenly dived into an economics
Hang on.
live stream
Hang on.
there. What's happened?
There we go.
There
That's
we are. There we are.
And
There we are.
welcome to A-Level Economics with Graham and Jim.
Oh, so Razzie there saying this is an application spinner because we were locked in today, so we did the actual mini case study.
Yeah.
Application.
But I think Razzie's right. Right. We need an application spinner tomorrow, don't we? Aren't we only allowed to use it on Tuesdays and Thursdays? I think there's something in the licensing arrangement, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah.
Now, George always asks this: is that it? He always says at the end of the session. Well, we did say half an hour of fast-paced, varied revision on core basic topics. So I think we've done hopefully done okay. So if you've enjoyed the session,
We've done 32 minutes.
You'll be rolling along again tomorrow when we're looking at theme 2. I think we're looking at resource management tomorrow, aren't we, with a bit of external influences.
Yeah.
So 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then next week we'll move on and do some more. And we're just waiting on Graham's busy diary to slot in some sessions.
Yeah, I have a packed social calendar.
Yeah.
So, but I will be there. I will be there.
Anyway,
Great
always
answers, everyone.
appreciate people joining
Yeah.
us. Great answers today, as always. And hopefully found it useful. If you did, spread the word and join us again tomorrow. If you didn't, just spread the word and join us again tomorrow. We'll be if you're doing AQA business, you've arrived early. We're starting AQA at 2 o'clock, so I might see you there. But for now, hopefully revision's going well. Don't forget, don't overdo it. Just keep chipping away, and all will be good. Jay, any final words before we sign off?
No, just we can't emphasize enough. Print the specification off. Make sure you know every single key term on there. Practice application and know your key content, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely right. Cheers, guys and ladies. We will see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock.